Hopefully through your investigations and discoveries you found that the derivative of sine x is really just cos x, and the derivative of cos x is the reflection of sine x over the x-axis, so it's actually equal to negative sine x. Now these are properties that we are going to use when we're calculating the derivative, but we're going to jump right into some composite functions or some product rule functions to be able to calculate our derivatives. So all those other rules still apply here. All right, so my g at x is the product of x cubed with the cos of x. So we're really looking at our product rule. We're going to do the derivative of the first times the second plus the derivative of the second times the first. So if you want to try that, put this on pause, give it a try, and then you can check your work. Okay, the derivative of x cubed should be 3x squared. So the derivative of the first times the second, so times the cos of x, plus the derivative of the second, so the derivative of cos x is negative sine x, so that could just be a subtract sine x, times the first, which is x cubed. Now I'm just going to tidy up how I wrote that, and in fact, eventually we want to put things in factored form so that we can work with that, and some of our trig identities might come in handy with some of these as we go along with that. I'm just fixing this up to look better than x cubed. All right, so if I look at this, they both have an x in common. The first term has an x squared, the second term has an x cubed. The lowest power of x would be the x squared. So I'm going to common factor x squared out of both terms. That leaves me with 3 times the cos of x, and then I'm just going to take the add a negative to be a subtract. And then we have x cubed, but we only have an x squared being a factor, so we need a factor of x times the sine of x. So this would be more likely how we would see it, and we could call that the factored form, and from there we could solve for some critical numbers. Okay, so that's product rule for the first one. For the second one, it's actually a composite function. It's actually a chain rule. So we could look at this as like f at x, we've got f at x equaling, let's make h at x equaling sine x, and we could have g at x equaling 3x. Okay, so if I wanted to find h at g at x, h of g at x, that's really sine of 3x. Okay, so it is a composite function. So when I take the derivative of this, or when I find the derivative, so f prime at x, I'm really looking at the derivative of the outer function. So the derivative of sine x is just cos x, so I should have the cos of the 3x. So you leave what the inner function was, that g at x stays a 3x, times the derivative of what's inside. So the derivative of the inner function, the derivative of 3x, is a 3. So I'm timesing by 3 there. Sorry, that got a little crowded with the h at x. Let me see if I can move that h over. There we go. All right, so normally you would actually see that with the coefficient of 3 and then times the cos of 3x. All right, so hopefully that makes sense in terms of it being a composite function. So you'll have more chance to practice those things. Now we have not looked at the function tan x and what its derivative is. However, we do know a trig identity. We know that tan x really could be written as the sine x divided by cos x. That's a property we learned back in 3U math, and then we have revisited it in advanced functions. So when I go to find its derivative, I could apply the quotient rule. We could do the derivative of the top, so the derivative of sine x is cos x, the derivative of the top times the bottom, minus the derivative of the bottom, so the derivative of cos x is minus sine x, times the top, all over the bottom squared. Okay, so we now can simplify that. The cos x times cos x could be written as cos squared x, minus a negative is really plus sine squared x, all divided by cos squared x. Now there is this Pythagorean identity here at the top, again from grade 11, and then again in advanced functions. We know that sine squared x plus cos squared x is just equivalent to 1. So this actually could simplify to be 1 over cos squared x, and the reciprocal function of that really is, or can be written as, the secant squared x. So you might remember that as a property of our secondary trig ratios. I think I said reciprocal function, but we're looking at our secondary trig ratios there with that one. So hopefully that makes sense in terms of where that comes from. Now the other option, so I have the word or right here, because we could use instead, because we kind of got away from using the quotient rule, it is possible to take that tan x and write it as sine x times cos x to the negative 1. So you can apply the product rule here, and we could do the derivative of the first. So our derivative of sine x would be cos x, the derivative of the first times the second, cos x to the negative 1, plus the derivative of the second. So applying that rule here, we're going to have a negative 1 multiplying the cos of x, and that would now be to the negative 2, and I've run out of room. This is just going to continue on. I'll just write it down below. So the derivative of the second, the derivative of what's inside, cos x, the derivative of cos x would be, let me see, the derivative of cos x would be minus sine x. So this is going to multiply by negative sine x, and then times the first, and the first was sine x. All right, so I think I've got that. The derivative of the first was cos x times the second is cos x to the negative 1. I'm just double checking my work in my head here, or out loud here, and then plus the derivative of the second. So if I'm looking at the second part here, the derivative of that is negative 1 times the cos of x to the negative 2 times the derivative of what's inside times the first. All right, so hopefully that works out and makes sense to you. Now, in terms of what we have here, we have a cos x, and this is all to the positive 1. So bases are the same. I could rewrite that. I was just stopping to think there for a second. I could rewrite that as just a 1 whole, I believe, right? Bases are the same. I could add my exponents. 1 plus negative 1 would be 0. So anything to the exponent 0 is a 1. So that's going to equal 1. And then I have, let me see if I can point this out. We have a negative here and a negative here. That's going to make a positive overall. So we have a plus. And then we've got a sine x times sine x, which is sine squared x. And then a cos x to the negative 2 would be a cos squared x there. Okay, and a couple different ways we could write that. We could get common denominators. That's probably what I will do on this one. There are tan properties that go with this, but common denominator makes sense. I could write that as cos squared x divided by cos squared x plus sine squared x divided by cos squared x. I think you can hopefully see where we're going with this. On the top now we have a cos squared x plus sine squared x all over cos squared x. And on the top, now this line looks like the line that we have right here. And that again would equal 1 over the cos squared x. Let's see if I can move this up. Oh, I can. So that's going to equal 1. Not sure where that thing came from. And I'm not sure why I can't get rid of it, but anyway, we'll try that again. We've got 1 over cos squared x, which is equivalent to the secant squared x. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense with those. You're going to give some questions a try, see how it goes, and we will talk about these things tomorrow.